This is the Infinite Moment Podcast, where we discuss topics that focus on stress relief solutions. Welcome to another episode of the Infinite Moment Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how to find calmness in times of chaos. And this can apply to many different aspects within our lives, from family and relationships to work to other stressors that we commonly find in our lives. And we're going to take a general outlook to how to remain calm even when you feel like you're in a state of chaos or disarray. Because oftentimes I think when you can remain calm in some of the toughest times, you'll be more apt to pick up on the lesson that experience is meant to teach you in the first place. And, hopefully, therefore, you won't have to go through that again. So in the articles today, we're going to take a look at a couple case studies or examples for how people in different positions were able to work their way through high levels of stress within their own lives and those particular situations that they were facing. So this will help to give us some insight onto how to potentially work through some of these situations ourselves if they ever arise, or in a more broader sense, try and pull the knowledge we can from it and then apply it to our own personal situations. Because I think a lot of times the practices may remain similar or the same, but they can be used for so many different levels of stress that we face in many different aspects of our lives. So as we navigate through this information, I would just ask that you kind of think about the things in your life that may take your calmness, even when it's a chaotic situation, and try and understand how you may be able to apply new ways of managing that stress. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first article for today. First article comes from Harvard Business Review. How to keep your cool in high stress situations. A CEO called one of us, Robert, for help. The company she was leading was on the cusp of a huge opportunity related to a new technology, but she was stymied and stuck. One of the representatives for an investor in the project was extremely assertive and self-interested. They had intimidated several of her company's strong board members, who were now withdrawing the financial support they had already committed. The entire endeavor was at risk. It took 20 minutes for the CEO to describe all the complexities. As she did, Robert felt a knot in his stomach. She expected him to add value, and yet he was struggling to even comprehend the issues. He worried that he wouldn't be able to help, and part of him just wanted to end the call and distance himself from this mess. Rather than doing that, he understood that his anxiety was a signal to slow down. He began to self-regulate. Recent research in the field of neuroscience, specifically polyvagal theory, offers insights into this process of self-regulation and how you can move from a fight or flight response to a higher state of openness that invites collaboration, creativity, and thriving. Studies have shown that specific tactics, which we'll explain more below, can help us navigate our natural tendency to be defensive when confronted. Another one of us, Stephen, developed polyvagal theory, which explains how our nervous system regulates our behavior, both collaborative and defensive, using the vagus nerve, the major parasympathetic nerve in the autonomic nervous system. This nerve provides bidirectional connections between the brain and the heart, gut, and other organs in our body, and is part of a predictable response sequence that is activated when we are threatened. There are 3 levels to this response. The first is immobilization, or what we call level 1. Under dire threat, a reptile, mammal, or human may collapse and mimic death. This is a natural and adaptive reaction. For example, when a mouse is trapped by a cat, the mouse may reflexively shut down and appear to be dead. Consequently, the cat loses interest in the mouse and the mouse is able to escape. This is a rare reaction in humans, but it does happen. Level 2 is mobilization. Under threat, the heart begins to beat faster. The sympathetic nervous system is activated. The body produces cortisol and adrenaline and prepares for action. This is the fight or flight response. We become aggressive or we flee. The third level of response is engagement and connection. When we feel safe again, we begin to function differently. It is at this level that a uniquely mammalian vagal pathway becomes functional and quiets the defensive features of both the fight, flight, and shutdown pathways. The body releases oxytocin. In this state, we're more open to others and experience a sense of connectedness that can lead to collaboration and learning. Theodosius Dobzhansky, a prominent evolutionary biologist, has refined Charles Darwin's famous quote about evolution being a survival of the fittest to add that the fittest also may be the gentlest because survival often requires mutual help and cooperation. It is connectedness and collaboration that has enabled the evolutionary success of mammals and humans. When we're able to reach level 3, our vision, hearing, voice, and mind begin to work in concert with our heart. We're able to feel our bodies as opposed to the numbness we may feel at levels 1 and 2 during a confrontation. We're not in the tunnel vision of fight or flight, so we can more accurately read the faces and the nonverbal signal of others. We see the bigger picture and connect with others around shared goals. In short, our relational and learning capacity increases. As a leader, the more effectively you can self-regulate, particularly moving from the frequently occurring level 2 to level 3, the better you can lead and help others. Based on our experiencing applying polyvagal theory to situations like the one Bob was in with the CEO, we've developed a 5-step framework to help people make this shift. Step 1, understanding. The first step is knowing the biology behind these reactions and accepting that being at level 1, 2, or 3 is normal. Knowing where you are on the hierarchy gives you choice and the power to shift. Step 2, awareness. When you feel challenged, notice the physical and emotional cues that signal you're experiencing anxiety. Do you feel a knot in your stomach or your heart racing? See these as signs of where you are in your reaction, likely level 2. Step 3, recall. Bring to mind previous experiences where you've successfully moved through uncertainty in the past. You might even write down what you did to navigate a difficult situation and use your own success to give yourself hope that you can get through this one too. Step 4, intention. With hope in mind, let go of the need to serve your ego by clarifying your highest purpose. Focusing on your intention will release oxytocin and help you shift to level 3. Step 5, trust the process. When you're at level 3, it's much easier to explore and develop ideas with the other person. The interaction is an emergent learning process. It will be challenging, but as long as you stay connected and don't move back to level 1 or 2, you can get through it together. In fact, you can become skilled at making others safe and keep inviting them back into mutually beneficial conversations. Robert used this framework when he was talking to the CEO, and he noticed himself going to fight or flight, wanting to flee the conversation. To make sure he was in a state where he could think clearly, he consciously drew on his memory of past challenges and successes. He thought about prior experiences when he had felt uncertain and vulnerable, yet managed to move forward. These memories increased his confidence in his ability to navigate the situation. He also thought about what he could bring to the conversation with the CEO, his higher purpose, which allowed him to consciously shift from fear to hope. Energized by this purpose, he invited the CEO to continue speaking, rather than trying to end the call. He used verbal signals of inclusion to support safety and trust. These included statements of authentic vulnerability and the use of genuine inquiry. When she finished, for example, he said, "Your challenge is very difficult. I can barely understand it, so let me repeat to you my flawed comprehension so you can correct me." It was a vulnerable act to admit that he didn't fully comprehend what she was saying, but being authentic signaled that he trusted the CEO, and his openness signaled she could trust him. She spent another 7 minutes further clarifying as she did. She and Robert entered into a state of co-regulation where ideas, emotions, and possibilities could be exchanged without hesitation, embarrassment, or fear. Once Robert felt safe and deeply listened to her clarifications, Oxytocin was flowing and he felt more mentally open. Instead of orienting to the problem, he focused on possibility and called her attention to a larger vision. Instead of seeking to get the already promised resources, could she take a new approach? Could she explore the original intentions of each actor? Why did they care enough to sign up and invest? Were they committed enough to become more engaged? Could she boldly ask for funding that would take the company not a few months into the future, but years into the future? Could she invite them to make a greater commitment? Could she lead them in co-regulating their way to higher collaboration? The CEO, intrigued, said she could try it out. A month later, she called Robert to report that the strategy, with further modifications, had brought success. The board members were more committed and optimism was up. Self-regulation opens the way to collaboration and change. Understanding our biological reactions in high-stress situations give us a path to follow. It is then our choice if we walk through this path or fight it, and the choice we make is often the difference between our success and failure. Alright, so in that article, it broke down to 3 stages of how we typically respond to a high-stress situation. The first being freeze. Not everyone freezes in high-stress situations, but it does happen. Even in nature, sometimes animals will freeze when they're being preyed upon. Even though, you may think that's not the best response, you may want to get run away from it. But it does sometimes work to just completely stop in the moment. So that's level 1. Level 2 is what we know as fight or flight. That's more common, where you're either going to stand your ground and stand up to that stressful situation and get through it by fighting your way through it, whether that's physical, mental, whatever it may be. Or you may choose to flee, flight, completely get away from the situation altogether. And of course, depending on the situation, one response will be more appropriate than the other. So that's a case-by-case basis, but that's basically the stage 2 of how we typically will respond. And stage 3 is when you actually get the oxytocin release and you feel more together after getting through that initial stressful, fearful response. So that's an important part of how our bodies self-regulate back to homeostasis, by allowing us to feel more calm after such a stressful situation. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the next article and we'll keep it moving. How to keep your leadership poise under pressure. And this article comes from Forbes. The ability to keep your composure during high-pressure situations is a crucial element of effective leadership. When I was conducting research for Stand Out, How to Build Your Leadership Presence, I found universal admiration for leaders who can remain calm in difficult situations and think effectively on their feet. If you don't have a strategy for retaining poise under pressure, high-stress situations can trigger the rapid automatic process known as the freeze, fight, or flight response. When you sense danger, whether it's real or imagined, your body prepares to protect you. Cortisol floods your body, your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your breathing gets shallow and moves higher in your chest. In addition, and this is particularly detrimental for a leader, your amygdala, the emotional region of your brain, begins to override your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part of your brain, as you literally lose your ability to think straight. Unlinking a trigger event from this self-defeating reaction is a 3-step process that begins with recognizing that you're in a stressful situation, pausing to give yourself the time needed to take back control, and taking slow, deep belly breaths to help stabilize your body and reassure yourself that you are unharmed. There are many lifestyle habits that build your mental resilience and increase your ability to deal with stress. These include healthy eating, moderate drinking, getting enough sleep, regular exercise, and my favorite, laughter. It is also highly beneficial to add one or more of a variety of stress-reducing and performance-enhancing techniques to your daily routine. To explore this aspect of poise under pressure, I asked 3 experts for their tips. Anish Chaudhry, CCWS founder and CEO, Soul Physio Lifestyle LLC, looks at how meditation reduces stress and improves performance. Chronic stress stems from the fight or flight response in the brain, which results when you lose control of your nervous system and remain in an agitated state for extended periods of time. Staying in a state of chronic stress consumes your mental and physical resources much quicker, leaving you less able to react positively in a crisis and make good decisions. When stress is unabated and accumulates over an extended period of time, it can ultimately lead to health issues and burning out. Learning to function from a place of steady control versus chronic stress allows you to better manage your energy and your productivity. The key to being able to calm the mind and body is deep breathing. Deep breathing signals to your brain that it is safe to let go of tension and to relax. Try this. A simple meditation practice can be done at home in a quiet place for 5 to 10 minutes by closing the eyes and focusing your attention on your breath. Deep breathing is done by inhaling and exhaling through the nose and placing the focus on the belly, allowing it to rise and fall gently with each cycle of breath. As your mind begins to wander, gently bring your attention back to your breath. Samantha Bove, founder and CEO, Zen Boss Academy LLC, explores the powerful relationship between introspection, intuition, and leadership composure. If you want to be perceived as a cool, calm, and collected leader, the number one thing you can do is practice getting super comfortable in highly uncomfortable situations. The quickest route to get there is spending some quality time with the person that never shuts up. You. Spend time with this inner voice. Get to know this voice so that you can tell when it's the voice of fear or of intuition. You'll know when fear is talking because fear sounds scared, rushed, and frantic. Fear has an immediate solution for everything and speaks a mile a minute. Intuition, on the other hand, is comfortable with the unknown and with taking time to pause before making big decisions. The more time you spend listening, the easier it is to decipher between the two voices, and the more you can rely upon your intuition as an asset during high-pressure situations. What is most important is being able to quiet that fearful voice so you can hear your intuition's faint whisper. Try this. Start by sitting alone in a room for 5 minutes every day by yourself, distraction-free. Call it meditation, prayer, boredom, connecting to source, whatever it is. It's uncomfortable and oftentimes downright painful. The more time you take to just be, to sit with yourself and to watch your thoughts as if they were birds in the sky, the easier it is to quiet all the voices inside your head and instead feel your ultimate knowing within. Jen James, co-founder and VP, Admit One Productions and Double J Lifestyle, blends mindfulness with self-compassion. As you continue to work and lead through times of uncertainty, understanding how you are feeling moment to moment and how those emotions are projecting to the people around you will help to create and promote an environment of stability, openness, and resilience. Mindfulness is the skill of being aware of present moment experiences with non-judgment. Try this. Take any daily task you do, like washing your hands or brushing your teeth. Most likely you are on autopilot with these kinds of activities and not paying attention. Mindfulness brings focus and awareness to what you are doing by asking you to notice how the water, toothbrush feels, the smells, the tastes, the sounds you hear. Making mindfulness a habit takes practice, but it starts with simply paying attention, even if just for a couple of minutes. Another practice called mindful self-compassion allows you to acknowledge and respond to your fears, suffering, and uncertainty by giving you the opportunity to treat yourself as you would a loved one or close friend or colleague. Through this process, you can reduce anxiety and increase self-acceptance. Try this. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and as you inhale, ask yourself, what do I need right now? How do I feel? As you exhale, choose to give yourself the gift of whatever it is you need. May I feel strength, or may I feel valued, or may I feel loved. Take a few breaths in and out and repeat this to yourself. Increasing the ability to remain poised under pressure is a key skill for all leaders in uncertain and stressful times. But staying composed in difficult situations, you attract and reassure followers by appearing reliable, capable, and steady. When you add a daily practice like meditation, mindfulness, intuition, and self-compassion, you build the internal resilience that is at the heart of authentic poise. This next article comes from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. It's titled, Study, Nurse, How to Keep Calm in Chaos. Being able to stay calm under pressure not only has a calming effect on others, but also inspires confidence. It is considered evidence of emotional intelligence, according to the Enterprisers Project. While it's nice knowing that keeping your cool might indicate you could move into management at work, it's even more useful for the job you have now. If you like to boost your own abilities in knowing how to act and what to say when it is, in fact, your circus, follow this calm advice from a nursing peer and management experts. Look calm. Registered nurse Nelson Long has 29 years of experience responding calmly to chaos, most recently as a flight nurse in a mid-sized city in the southeast. He says most of the trick is appearing calm when everything else is not. Usually when people call us, they are already in a bind. If they see us stressed, they are going to ratchet it up. Truly, we have to be calm in the storm, no matter how we are feeling on the inside. Work the plan. You can cope with high-stress situations much more readily if you have a plan in place, noted Ann Grady, author of Strong Enough, Choosing Courage, Resilience, and Triumph. That begins by identifying what types of things will set you off, she told the Enterprisers Project. While it sounds easy, this is anything but. The best way to identify your triggers is to pay attention to your emotions and physiology. When you're triggered, how do you know? Does your heart race? Do your palms sweat? Do your shoulders tighten? Do you begin to feel anxiety? Once you can identify how you react when you've been triggered and what tends to trigger you, you can proactively create a plan to manage those responses. Remember whose emergency this is. One of the two things I remember from training is a supervisor who told us, "It's not your emergency," Long remembers. If you make it your emergency, you're not going to be able to function. Because as that same supervisor said, logic and emotion compete for the same space in your brain. You can deal with emotion later. While you're with a patient, you have to focus on the logic. Ask questions. When you want to react or even scream, settle for asking questions. That's a great way to make other people feel heard and for you to learn more about a situation, as long as they are non-judgmental questions. Marjorie Myers, a consultant and coach with Bates Communications, told the Enterprisers Project. It is also a way to put a pause in the situation and buy some time to think. See if you can't distract the others. While it's no time for a joke involving three people who walk into a bar, a mildly humorous remark can sometimes help take everyone's mind off the emergency, Long says. Everyone has that tunnel vision of what's going wrong, so you have to say something to take everybody out of that. Be reassuring. This is not the time to tell others who are falling apart that they have good reason to be doing so, according to Long, who has extensive experience with this mindset when his crew is picking up or delivering critical patients. In an emergency department, everything is kind of falling apart by definition. It helps if you can reassure people, "We're going to handle it from here. You did the right thing." If you let them know they did the right thing in calling you or getting the patient where they can receive medical attention, it goes a long way towards calming the situation. The same goes for fellow nurses who may occasionally flip out in a crisis situation, though hopefully just for a second or two. Just remind everybody, we're doing our jobs, we're following our protocols, we're doing the right thing, Long added. Alright, so from those two articles, we got a lot of good information about different practices and mindsets to use for dealing with high stress situations. So for example, meditation, mindfulness, intuition can help prepare us for situations that may be stressful. So if you practice meditation, you learn how to breathe deeply, and that helps you slow down and get back to a state of clear headedness, a clear mind, so that you can think logically and not be stuck in an emotional state where you can make very irrational decisions. You can also practice mindfulness really when you're doing anything throughout your day, especially a more mundane task where you may almost not be that focused on anything at all, such as washing the dishes. If you actually practice tuning into your senses and what you're actually feeling in those moments, then you'll become a better thinker and more prepared when in any situation, stressful or not. And then intuition also helps us. It's important because while it's not wise to give into fear, sometimes we must use our intuition as a guiding signal for where to go next. And in the final article, it discussed why it's so important to be able to remain calm when you're in a rather stressful situation, especially when you're in a position of leadership, because other people are counting on you. And your fear could ultimately lead to the fear of others and could lead to, bad things potentially happening depending on the situation. So some of the examples are from emergency responders who will often have to respond to some very stressful situations that may have to do with people being, injured or even dead. But they have to have a sense of calm and be able to operate at a high level with all the chaos of a situation like that. And although, yes, eventually that energy is going to play out within them, they have to find ways to, you know, deal with that appropriately. And a lot of times they can't deal with the emotion of a situation while they're trying to help others um, through a very stressful and emotional situation they're already having. So they probably should deal with. They will have to deal with it, but they have to kind of delay the emotional part of that. And that's a lot of what we're saying here is to slow down and think, and don't just react. Try and respond with some wisdom so that you make the right decisions, so that everyone can benefit to the best of your ability. That's what it means to be a leader. That's what it means to remain calm even if everyone else around you is panicking. All right, so just some tips there. I really hope that helps a lot of people out. I mean, I think we all find ourselves in quite stressful situations from time to time. I don't think any of us need any help finding any of those situations. There's a lot of that to go around. So the more we can learn to deal with those in ways that positively affect our lives, I think it's better for us. So with that being said, catch you guys next time. You take it easy.